We've peeled back the curtain on the whispered secrets of Dayton's parentage. We've shattered the carefully crafted illusion of Kody Brown as the noble patriarch. But today, we're stepping into a place darker than anything we've explored before. This isn't just messy family drama. This is a claim so chilling, so deeply cynical, that it forces us to question whether the Brown family has any humanity left to show. I'm talking about the miscarriage, a tragedy that, on the surface, seemed to unite the audience and the Browns in one moment of shared grief. Tears fell, hearts broke. But what if those tears were not born of truth? What if they were manipulated, scripted, and sold as reality? This is the Spirit Baby hoax, the ghastly premise that Robyn Brown, the self-proclaimed victim in her own life story, might have had a pregnancy and miscarriage fabricated, not in anguish, but in strategy. This is unequivocally the most disturbing and concerning accusation we've ever dissected. And if you're willing to face the reality that millions of viewers were lured into emotional deceit, then hit that like button to prove you're not afraid of truth. And naturally, subscribe to Sister Wives Crew. Enable all notifications, because once you hear this, you'll never see Robyn, Kody, or this show the same again. Let's return to the version of events the show presented us with in Season 15. The setting was within Robyn and Kody's Flagstaff mansion, a trophy house that represented not only riches, but their triumph in the constant battle for power within the family. There, far from the ruins of shattered relationships, Kody and Robyn fantasized about another baby, his 20th child. How the producers put it, this was a love fantasy, one last miracle to complete their romance. But then the narrative careened into tragedy. Robyn came onto a confessional, sobbing openly. She reported that she was pregnant, and that she had lost the baby. Her voice trembled, her eyes sparkled. Kody went next with his own tale of mourning, speculating about the son he already had envisioned, the child he already had named in his head. The family, broken and disintegrating, was united again in shared bereavement. But what began as an ordinary tale of heartache very soon escalated into something much more bizarre. Robyn presented the world with her idea of the Spirit Baby, a small, dark-haired child who, she insisted, was patiently waiting to become a part of their family. Not merely a memory, not merely a dream, but a presence, a soul waiting in the wings. Suddenly, the miscarriage was no longer a private tragedy. It was a mystical epic, an infinite spiritual soap opera intended to pull at heartstrings and, conveniently, keep the cameras rolling. A tale of sorrow, spirituality, and unyielding optimism, intended to make Robyn and Kody the sympathetic center of a series otherwise disintegrating under its own dysfunction. But this is the issue, and why so many people watch now see red flags. Behind that storyline lurks the increasing questions whether any of it ever existed. To understand why this is the theory that gained traction, we have to recall where the show was in Season 15. The Sister Wives franchise was teetering on life support. The formerly quirky and harmonious Brown family had imploded into estrangement and anger. Coyote Pass's dream was literally a mud hole. Mary felt emotionally abandoned and exiled. Janelle was fighting with Kody's dictatorial expectations. Christine was being smothered by years of being ignored and scheming an escape. The show was no longer successful. It was falling apart, and disintegration doesn't sell. The viewers aren't sitting around waiting to watch never-ending bickering over land surveys or never-ending battles over COVID regulations. The producers wanted more. They wanted a narrative so strong, so emotionally compelling, that it could reboot the show around the one couple that they still had remaining, Kody and Robyn. What's more relatable than the agony of miscarriage? Nothing. It's the sort of narrative that puts criticism into indefinite suspension. You can't criticize Robyn for manipulation when she's sobbing over a lost child. You can't criticize Kody's narcissism when he's grieving his son. It was, from a production perspective, the ideal solution. But the timing? Suspicious doesn't even begin to describe it. The miscarriage didn't coincidentally occur during the show's crisis moment. It resolved the crisis. And that should be enough in and of itself to make us stop and question. Let's transition from the why to the how. That's where the official story really falls apart. Remember every big medical moment on Sister Wives? Truly's kidney failure? We witnessed every painful minute. Solomon and Ariella's births? They ran across several episodes, with home movies and midwife reports. Isabel's scoliosis operation? We saw doctor appointments, differing viewpoints, unedited emotion. This show has never hesitated to reveal medical realities in all their glory, sometimes even in grisly detail. And yet, when Robyn miscarried, nothing, no timeline, no due date, no hospital visit, no ultrasound picture, no doctor visits, no family video, only Robyn's crying in confessionals and Kody's dramatic speeches. The whole story was all about words, not about real things. For a production team willing to film colonoscopies if it meant ratings, the silence here is deafening. It doesn't feel like a documentary of an event. It feels like a script read aloud. And then there's the so-called spirit baby. This was, in large part, the brilliance of the plot. In their faith tradition, the notion of children waiting in the spirit world is indeed real. But Robyn used that belief as a defense mechanism, not as solace. By presenting the miscarriage as a spiritual child rather than a physical one, she made it impossible to refute. You can't shoot down a person's vision. You can't fact-check a spirit. This presented Robyn with an open season to spin a tale with no one holding her accountable. She could cry, paint the picture of the little girl, speak of her bond, all with never producing a shred of medical evidence that a pregnancy ever existed. The spirit baby became the darling of the season, a character accessible to Robyn only, trapping her as the emotional centerpiece of the whole cycle. And then there is the performance itself. Robyn has long demonstrated that she can cry on demand. But her grief here? It was tidy, groomed, practically too perfect. Actual grief is messy. Actual grief is rage and confusion, usually coupled with ugly medical realities. But Robyn's grief? It was movie cliched, sterile, a performance that rang all the right emotional chords, and no raw ones. As for Kody, his mourning wasn't even for the baby. It was for himself, the son he had imagined, the future he envisioned. His monologues were less that of a bereaved father and more those of an actor relishing a tragic play. Together, he and Robyn weren't grieving parents. They were scene partners, marketing a tragedy, and this is where things get most uncomfortable. Contrast Robyn's ambiguous narrative with the real, raw pregnancy loss narratives that have been courageously shared by so many women on reality TV and elsewhere. Those women post ultrasound pictures, they detail medical facts. They allow the cameras to show their suffering in all its unvarnished ugliness. Robyn, she offered us nothing of that, only words, only performance. When other women recount their miscarriages, they speak of the long, painful rides to the hospital. They tell of the physical discomfort, the tests, the sorrow that unfolds beneath cold fluorescent lights. Their sorrow is raw, unfiltered, messy. It's authentic. And so often, along with that honesty comes another motive, a need to shatter the stigma, to inform other women that they're not alone in this heartbreaking loss. But Robyn's account? It sounds nothing like that. No texture, no hospitals mentioned, no bodily pain, no medical information, no effort to appeal to the tens of millions of women who have suffered this particular devastating trauma. Rather, her account wanders off into the realm of the mystical, a spiritual child, a vision, something only she is able to perceive, something that can never be verified, never be falsified, and that's where the theory finds its hold. Because what Robyn presented to us wasn't the reality of miscarriage. It was the format of a scripted TV plot. Consider it. Act 1, hope and anticipation. Act 2, tragedy and loss. Act 3, an enduring enigma, the spirit baby who might still come. It's flawless storytelling. But life, particularly loss, is not flawless storytelling. Life is messy. And this was a tidy 3-act play. If this theory is true, then what we have here is one of the chilliest acts of emotional manipulation in the history of reality television. To stage a pregnancy and miscarriage is not merely a falsehood, it's a desecration. It takes one of the most intimate and profound states of bereavement a woman can experience and rebrands it as a narrative contrivance. It's not merely betrayal of the audience, it's betrayal of all mothers who have quietly wept over a test that once indicated 2 lines, only to be left in despair. Think of the ugliness of that. To reduce a heartbreaking, real-life tragedy into nothing more than a device for sympathy, a protection from criticism, and a means of garnering screen time. If this was in fact a hoax, it's stunning in its depravity. And it undoes the entire basis of Robyn's on-screen persona. Because if she can fake this, what can't she fake? Suddenly, the demure victim, the perpetually misjudged wife, all of that persona comes crashing down. What's left standing is not a victim, but a predator, a female who is more well-versed in the mechanics of reality TV than everyone else in the household. And let's be real, this isn't all about season 15. This is about power, about cementing her seat on the throne. By this point in the series, Robyn was no longer the lovely new bride that had won everyone over. The viewers had turned against her. Most viewed her as the cause of why the family was falling apart. The manipulator, the spender, the wedge that drove the Browns apart. Internet forums overflowed with condemnation of her actions, her dominance over Kody, her unattainable lifestyle. Her reputation was tainted. What is the nuclear option in a PR conflict? A miscarriage? It's the ultimate sympathy bomb. One blast and all critics are muzzled. Who is it that questions a mourning mother? Who questions a woman in mourning? To do so is to invite the accusation of being cruel, heartless, inhuman. With this one narrative, Robyn turned the tables. Suddenly, her seclusion with Kody wasn't selfishness. It was trauma. It wasn't manipulation, it was self-preservation. She and Kody weren't callously cutting off the other wives. They were a mourning couple holding on to one another. It was, in most respects, the ideal crime against public perception. And then, notice how the other wives responded. They give their condolences, yes, but subdued, stiff, distant. Christine, Janelle, Mary, they pay lip service. But there is no visceral connection, no mutual loss. Why? Was it merely because the family was broken? Or was it because, on some level, they didn't really believe what they were being told? They weren't experiencing a tragedy, they were being informed of one. Asked to go along with the Kody and Robyn tragedy show, their stoic reactions might not have been a deficiency of empathy, but passive defiance. The body language of individuals who are aware that they are being given the runaround. That distance only served to put Kody and Robyn on an even higher pedestal. Their sorrow was sanctified, exclusive, their own. The others weren't extras, they were background players in the tragedy that would redefine Robyn and Kody as the show's pulse. And then there are the rumors from behind the scenes. Insider gossip. Reports from someone who claimed to have been a production assistant on the show. The miscarriage plotline elicited fiery arguments in the edit room. Why? Because there was no actual footage to be edited. Nothing but Robyn's confession. No hospital visits, no pregnancy test, no emergency room scenes. The whole story had to be pieced together from after the fact commentary by Kody and Robyn. And there's still more. The same source alleged producers were being put in an extraordinary amount of pressure from the network to redefine Robyn's image, to make viewers feel sorry for her once more. The miscarriage plotline was the answer. Backwards engineered, as if putting a puzzle together backwards. Begin with the end result, Robyn as a sympathetic character, and construct a tragedy to arrive at that place. And if you pay close enough attention, even Robyn herself drops breadcrumbs. In one scene, discussing the spirit baby, she outbursts, "I know this sounds crazy." That's not how individuals tend to speak when describing real spiritual experiences. That's how one speaks when attempting to sell you something they realize sounds outlandish. It's a timeless, rhetorical ploy. Appeal to the ridiculousness before your listeners do, in the hopes of dissolving their skepticism. It's the sort of thing a writer constructing a made-up narrative would say. And it's when the vision of Robyn changes again. Not merely manipulative, not merely self-interested, but calculating, cold-blooded creator of her own reality TV narrative. She knew what the season required. A reset. She knew what she required. Redemption. And she constructed a narrative that would provide her with both. She didn't merely appear on the show, she commandeered it. She inserted herself as the heroic martyr, Kody as the bereaved hero, and relegated the other wives to resentful, unsupportive background players. An Emmy-qualifying drama, one that was driven not by reality, but by acting. And what was the material? The staged trauma of a child that never existed. So what are we left with? A chilling question. Are we seeing Robyn Brown, the individual, or Robyn Brown, the act? Is Sister Wives reality television anymore? Or is it now a meticulously scripted play in which every tear is scripted and every disaster staged? Because if the spirit baby hoax theory holds water, then we aren't viewing a family self-destruct. We're viewing the truest, most epic form of manipulation, a woman who understands that in reality, TV truth is not required, but drama is a prerequisite. And she'll do whatever it takes, even compromise the holy grief of miscarriage, to remain at the top. We all saw it unfold. We watched as that narrative was turned into a tool. Robyn used it to consolidate her hold on power, to demand blanket sympathy, to crown herself in a house where only the story reigns supreme. And in the kingdom of reality, TV, it's not truth that reigns supreme. It's the best told tale. Perhaps the spirit baby never existed, but the power that it gave her, that was too real. And maybe that was the game plan all along. We've walked through the darkest hallways of the Browns' past. We've probed the very foundation of that family tree with the taboo theory of Dayton's birth. We've peered into the abyss by asking if a miscarriage was stage managed for television coverage. Today, we link it all. We step back and uncover the sinister pattern behind it all. Not one lie, not an isolated deception, but a calculated, long-term psychological war that has spanned 10 years. This is the last chapter. The Puppet Master, a profound psychological autopsy of the ways in which Robyn Brown purportedly used textbook manipulation, gaslighting, triangulation, weaponized vulnerability, and isolation to take down the Brown family from the inside out and obtain her ultimate goal, monogamy. Before we crack open her playbook, I'm asking you for one final display of bravery. If you've stuck with us this far and you're willing to have the last picture click into place, smash that like button. And if you're new here, subscribe and ring the bell. Because this is the key that unlocks the entire Sister Wives mystery. The greatest betrayal is the one that disguises itself as love. Here's the foundational premise that makes every piece click. Robyn Sullivan never wanted plural marriage. She never wanted sisterhood. She wanted Kody Brown, singular. And she wanted him to herself. The 14-year epic isn't a tale of a woman fitting into a large, clumsy family. It's the tale of a relentless campaign of slow-motion monogamy. The other wives weren't sisters. They were barriers. The other 13 children weren't a bonus. They were rivals for time, cash, and attention. From her initial appearance, each tear, each cry of "understand," each soft confession was a chess move with one winning stipulation: eliminate the competition and be the last wife standing. Executing something so daring takes more than desire. It takes skill. So let's pull out the puppeteer's handbook. First, gaslighting. Psychological manipulation that causes the victim to question their senses, their memory, their mind. Robyn is a master of the paradox. "I just wanted sister wives. I wanted a big family," she murmurs in tears. Most often in the same episode in which she dominates Kody's attention, advocates for the more expensive house, or makes moves that draw him further away from the others. The wives are observing. Reality. Nights spent at Robyn's. The financial disparity. The growing distance. They sense the wrongness in their very bones. And the minute they attempt to label it, she hit back with hurt innocence. "But I love you guys. I want us to be a family." That's the trap. Christine is no longer certain if she can see straight. Am I being petty? Am I jealous? The women are driven into cognitive dissonance, what they see versus what Robyn demands, until they begin to mistrust themselves. Her second level of gaslighting is a rewritten history. Throughout the later seasons, as the family breaks apart, Robyn has one solitary refrain: "From day one, they never accepted me." We saw Mary fight for her. We saw Christine attempt to bring her in. We saw Janelle make good faith effort. By reciting the outsider story enough times, she attempts to gaslight the family and the viewer into questioning the very footage we've all witnessed. Second strategy, triangulation. The manipulator plants herself between two people and steps into the role of translator, filter, gatekeeper. Robyn became the Kody whisperer. Kody, who has difficulty with emotional subtlety, complains about Janelle or Christine, then retreats to Robyn for translation. Rather than advising, "Speak to her yourself," Robyn inserts herself. What Christine actually meant was, at that moment, she takes ownership. She gets to define Christine for Kody, always in terms that benefit Robyn's agenda. Christine is hard to deal with. Janelle is unreasonable. Robyn is the calm, wise, supportive anchor. With each mediated discussion, she solidifies her inescapability to Kody while secretly undermining healthy, straight-talking communication with the other wives. Third tactic, weaponized vulnerability. Robyn recognized Kody's hero complex right away. He is drawn to damsels in distress. She came with the ideal narrative. Young, gorgeous, single mom, divorced, struggling financially, needing to be rescued. From the start, he was the knight. She was the damsel in distress. While the other wives ran households with competence and autonomy, Robyn stage-managed vulnerability. She was too nervous to live alone. She needed assistance with everything. And when responsibility edged its way in, the tears were abundant. To Robyn, crying is not merely emotion. It's tactics. Tears turn the tables in a heartbeat. The challenger is turned into the bully. Kody comes charging to the rescue. The discussion does not end with closure, but with Robyn shielded and the objecting voice ethically cornered. Her sensitivity becomes armor, and conversely, the wellspring of her strength. Fourth and last strategy, isolation. Monogamy in slow motion demands cutting the target from his other constituencies. Robyn's genius was patience. The relocation to Flagstaff destroyed the working Las Vegas cul-de-sac, where distance had kept the family half together. By dispersing homes over a broader map, daily ties unraveled. Visits turned into logistics. Logistics turned into excuses. And then came the coup de grace, the pandemic. Under the flags of prudence and family protection, Robyn and Kody rolled out hyper-stricter rules they knew the other households. Adult kids with full plates, varying needs, could not uphold. It was a test of loyalty masquerading as public health. When Janelle's and Christine's families could not meet the impossible, Kody promptly found a moral excuse to vanish. He wasn't abandoning wives and kids. He was staying safe. He wasn't selecting Robyn. He was living by the rules. For over a year, she had what she'd always desired. Kody functionally monogamous, installed in her palace, emotionally and pragmatically hers. Get this, Kody is not the mastermind of this theory. He's the tool. In the language of narcissistic abuse, the name is flying monkey, the one a manipulator enlists to do the dirty work. Robyn coached Kody into the ultimate enforcer by reflecting back and exaggerating his baser impulses. When his anger surged toward Christine, "You have every right to be mad." When he perceived being slighted by his sons, "They owe you respect. You're their father." She never pushed back. She validated. She reflected his ego back at him until he grew addicted to the image. The bitter, furious Kody of later seasons isn't season 1's man. He's the man molded, conditioned, and eventually armed by 10 years of Robyn's hand. First, she kept him isolated. Then she radicalized him against his own relatives. And now, the judgment. Take a look at the board. Who's left? Robyn Brown. She sits in a 7-figure home, paid for by years of pooled income. She's got the husband, emotionally, physically, legally, all to herself. Her children are the only ones with whom Kody has anything that could be called an actual relationship. The brand that once sounded like a sarcastic nod to exclusivity has, in reality, become literal. The other 3 wives are absent. The original 13 children are estranged or hanging on to gossamer, tenuous relationships with their father. 30 years of homes, money, and family life have been systematically dismantled and brought under her management. This wasn't plural marriage collapsing organically. This was a hostile takeover. Robyn Brown isn't a failed sister wife. In the cruel calculus of reality TV, she might well be its greatest winner. She spotted the vulnerability. She played the long game. She carried out with the chilling detachment of a corporate raider, leaving psychological and financial devastation in her trail. So when you watch the tears now, know what you're seeing. Not a victim, a victor, weeping tears of victory. Sister Wives is a tragedy, but its tragic core figures aren't Kody and Robyn. They are the 3 women who lost their husband, their family, their life's work, and the 13 kids who lost a dad in slow motion. War casualties they never knew they were fighting. Robyn did not come to share a throne. She came to conquer a kingdom. And as the credits roll, as she sits beside her king in their castle, haunted by the ghosts of the family they raised, we're left with a final, icy truth. She won. She gained everything she wanted. Everyone else paid the price.